Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of May 19th through May 25th. Now, before we do any type of recap, breakdown, or anything like that, I have an announcement to make. Now, as of this week, when the sun goes into Gemini, we will be in Gemini season. We will be in my season. And how do we celebrate my season? How do we celebrate my birthday, which isn't until June, but I don't care because we're going to celebrate all of Gemini season because I'm the astrologer and I said so. Is we do BOGO specials on readings. So readings will be buy one, get one for Gemini season. That means it's going to start at the start of the Gemini season and it will end at the end of Gemini season. Now, to do this, here's a couple stipulations. Some of you guys are spoiled brats and you know who you are. You have been with me for years and years and years, and you don't book through the website. You just message me going, hey, can we make some time? And I usually give into that. I will not give into that this time. Why am I saying that? Because between the end of May and the end of June, I have 12 events, two of which I will be traveling for. OKC, the weekend of June 20th, 21st, like the start of Cancer season, and Denton, Texas at the end of June. And that official event, the oddities event that I'm going to, that is going to be on June 28th. Everything else is local events, but that's still events that I'm doing. Therefore, my ability to do sessions are very, very limited. The best way to make sure that you're getting in with me and getting this special is booking through the website. Now, if you are newer, you've only ever booked through the website, and that's great. But some of my older people that are a little bit more established, you're spoiled, and it's my fault. I know that. And I'm telling you ahead of time, you don't get to be spoiled this time. So again, if you want to book a BOGO reading, you have to do it through the website, and there will be a very special area that will go live on the 20th, and it'll say BOGO Gemini season special. If you do not book underneath that, you do not get the special rate. So just to be clear, you have to do it through the website, and you're going to be clicking on the BOGO area once it's live, and that's not even happening yet. So there's that. Happy Gemini season. We're going to celebrate my birthday, and everybody's going to get buy one, get one reading. So there is that. Now, when it comes to the vibration of this week that we're going into, a lot of us have already been prepping. We've been working through things. We've been negotiating things. We've been talking through things, putting a plan in order, getting some details finally worked out over the last few weeks because there has been a transition at play for quite a while. Now, some of us went into the month of May not even sure what this transition was, but as the month has progressed, like our attention span has changed. Parts of our routine has changed. People that we work with has changed. People that we know, people that we've been meeting, there has been an adjustment. There has been a shift. Again, there has been a change. And the biggest change going into this week is all of that prior negotiation, all of that prior work through, all of the prior planning, all of the prior whatever it has been is leading now to an arrival, and a recognition, an arrival, an idea per se, but this feels a lot bigger. And I do feel like a lot of people will have warning, so to speak, of the arrival before it actually happens. And that's because by the end of this week, Saturn will move into Aries. We're going to start a very hot-headed, volatile vibration that will encompass a lot of the summer because Saturn is not said to do well in the sign of Aries. He's said to be in his fall. He does well in Libra. He does well in that area of balance and scales, but this is an impulsive responsibility. There's an impulsivity whenever it comes to Aries vibration. And all of this gearing up this week is arrival towards a new shift in responsibility, a new shift in roles. Now, some people will not do well with the roles they take, but the responsibility that is shifted through. with the bear they have poked, because that arrival is going to encompass where our focus is going to be for the majority of the summer. Because once Saturn moves into Aries, he will be there until late September going into October. There's a shift in the vibration. And this shift will literally take us to the end of the next eclipse season. So whenever I've been saying all month, we're transitioning something into place. We're transitioning into the new normal. The entire month is a transition of new people, new places, new things, new routines, new topics, new conversations, new ways of doing things, new people that we're meeting, new. All of that new has shifted towards some kind of an arrival. And it is at the end of this week that something arrives, something appears, something takes shape. Somebody walks in the door. There is an arrival. But this doesn't feel so blindsiding. There's enough energy based off of the last few weeks and where we're going into this week that it really feels almost planned. It feels prepared for. Now, some of us are preparing for that new responsibility in our life, in our household, over grandpa, over grandma. We're having to do something new in that level of responsibility. Some of us are going to see certain people announce that they are retiring. And the whole transition is going to be moving forward. Joe Bob is going to be taken over. But it doesn't feel like an immediate takeover. It feels like a transition point to take over, that it won't completely take shape until later on. And I'm not putting a specific date to that. Sometimes if we know the boss is going to retire, what I keep picturing is Warren Buffett. Hear me out. Warren Buffett has been over Berkshire Hathaway for like 60 plus years, and he's finally ready to retire. So he's announcing, either he just announced or he's about to announce. I'm kind of out of the loop with the business news this last week. I haven't been able to focus on it. I've been doing other stuff. But he's either about to announce or he just announced. I could have missed it. Who's going to be taking his place? But the thing is, it's a transition. It's not going to be an immediate, like, here you go, you're going to be the CEO forever now. No, it's going to be like, this person is now going to be accompanying me with all of the meetings and everything that I do for the next 6, 9, 12 months. Because I want him to know what I know. I want to teach him my daily. He's going to shadow me with the idea that later he will take full responsibility. And again, I'm just using that public, you can Google it. Warren Buffett is literally like handing over the reins to Berkshire Hathaway, but it is a planned transition of either 6 months to a year, depending on the human effect. He's not just handing over the keys going, bye, see you next year, I'm going to retire now. No, he's not doing that. He is literally bringing someone on that will be his shadow, that will be getting taught something. And many of us are going into a new dynamic. We're about to have new people come through, that it's not just a one and done situation. There's a new attitude. There's a new mindset, new role, new routine, new power dynamic. You guys have heard me say that for a while. We've been in this idea of transitioning into a new power dynamic for quite some time. One part of that transition, one part of that power dynamic was just sliding someone into place. It was just about making the selection, making the announcements, doing the prep work, showcasing something. But the actual startup of said power dynamic, the actual stepping into the office after selections have been made, they haven't happened yet. they will start to happen over the course of the next 2 weeks as we end the month. And for some people, you will see your first wave of arrivals this week. For others, the human effect it'll be next week, because again, Saturn's actual changing of signs happens over the course of Memorial Weekend. For those that are here in the States, for those that are out of the States, y'all don't know this, but it's a holiday for us. It's a long weekend kind of holiday. So for some people, the news, the break in the communication, letting people know the announcements will be this week and the arrival will be the next week. But for some people, the arrival will be right at the end of this week. I feel like for a lot more people, it's like the end. I think a lot of people are going to actually be in the first to the middle of the week, so Monday through Wednesday, doing some prep work, getting some things done, getting some things in order, doing the final touches, knowing that the debut, the arrival, the opening, the showcase, the action, the excitement, whatever that is, won't fully kick in until next week. I feel like there's a human effect given the fact that Saturn changing signs when it comes to if Aries is a like business house for you, if it's a money house for you, I don't know that we all feel the arrival at the same time. Some will feel it over the course of next weekend. But others, the human effect will be when you go back to work after the holiday. It really kind of comes down to what Saturn rules for you and what Aries represents for a lot of you. Because I think that'll make the bigger detail, that will put the bigger emphasis on certain things as to how that dynamic works out. But whenever it comes to this week, the arrival, the awareness of our new dynamic is in the process of being implemented. And I do feel like there's a lot of process to this week. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of finalizing the nitty gritty, getting certain things in order, knowing that once they are in order, the next phase of the dynamic will take shape after the agreements are signed, after approvals are made, after recognition is put into place. Now, for some people, whatever that new dynamic is, that new power dynamic of Saturn going into Aries is, and again, this doesn't happen till the end of the week, but I feel like all week is preparing for this. Once Saturn goes into Aries, whatever energy he brings in, for some people, it will be temporary. You will be starting the first phase of something over the course of the summer, a first phase of an action or an activity, a movement. That once we get to the end of the summer, again, somewhere between that September, October timeframe, I'm putting the human effect in there, that we won't want to do something the same way. There will be something that comes in that kind of interrupts and says, this isn't going to continue. And after that interruption occurs, some of us will find ourselves going back to the drawing board, or we're going to have something that takes us back to a past thing. But right now, we're getting over a dynamic. We're getting over a hump. We're getting over our emotions. We're working through something so something new can start to slide into place over the course of these next 2 weeks. I feel like more people will feel the new next week. That this week is the announcements, it is the showcasing, it is the decisions, it is the final negotiations, it is the final contracts, it is the final signatures before the store opens, before the new employee starts, the new boss starts, that new part of our routine, that there's some final element of discussion, transitions that need to occur, final prepared work of this is done over here, now I can transition to focus over here, over the course of this entire week. There's so many little movements, as well as a lingering energy that is going on all week between Venus and Mars. Now, I kind of talked about this at the close of last week's episode, and that was there was a dynamic starting to shift into place of a support, an action, of something new that was starting that is going to have a long-term effect. This still falls into everything that we've just talked about. But for a lot of people, this transitional energy still requires movement as of this week, because that Venus-Mars trine will go exact this week. But it's going to go exact again in the second half of the week. So there's still an energy at the first part where it's like we can only go as far as we have approval. We only know what we know until something else gets recognized, until something else is discussed, confirmed, and moved through. And again, the human effect is some people by the end of the week, you will know what this new arrival is, this new role, this new responsibility, this new oversight, this new thing. For others, it's more likely to be that last week of May. So there's that. Okay. Let's figure out the transition. Let's look at the transits. And let's start taking a look at Monday. Now, whenever it comes to Monday, we are starting this off right at the 1:30 in the morning marker. Between 12:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to make a sextile to Venus. Now, again, Venus is entering that trine to Mars. We're already in this vibration. We actually started to move into it over the course of the weekend before Monday. So between the 17th and the 18th. As this week progresses more and more, that vibration between Venus and Mars has actually got a lot of uplift to it. It's got a lot of uptick to it in a lot of ways. And there will be certain things that start to push ahead just because, again, some of the long-term discussions and decisions are going to be happening. They're not all happening at 1:30 in the morning, let's be clear. But there's a vibration that is setting in, that is pushing something into perspective. When the moon goes through the sextile to Venus, again, this is happening in the overnight hours. So for some people, there's some late night discussions on Sunday. For other people, this is going to be a part of early Monday morning of like making a fixed decision or in making a contact of some sort to see if something is about to start. Have we made a decision? Oh no, I'm waiting on one other person. Oh no, something else needs to happen. And given after the sextile between the moon and Venus, the moon also needs to go through an opposition to Mars. That is going to be felt the most exact between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. So I got the moon here, 14 degrees, 32 minutes. Here's Mars, 14:28. So we're right after the exact, within about 10 minutes of it. There's going to be some people Sunday night going into Monday, they're not getting a lot of sleep. We're too busy in our minds. We're too busy trying to work on some things. Considering we did just have that Sun-Uranus conjunction over the weekend, also that most shocking day or that most exciting day of the year vibration, some people are going to have some disruption that is still kind of lingering even from that. Now, when the moon hits the opposition to Mars, Mars is full steam ahead. Mars is hosting that Venus. Mars is hosting Neptune, and Mars is gearing up for the arrival of Saturn. We are in a place of trying to settle into a long-term action of making something come full course, full spread, full dynamic. Now, in the overnight hours, can we be restless? Yes. Can we have some, agitation and kind of coming through or irritation coming through? Yes. Can it also set the mood for how we're going to be feeling throughout the day? Absolutely. Especially if we feel like something is being stubborn or someone is being stubborn, trying to get the day going. Now we're getting into the morning time. Between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., so I got this at 7:30, the moon in Aquarius is going to make a square to Mercury. Now, the moon is in the higher authority, pushing an idea, asking questions, giving direction, asking for confirmation of a conversation, asking if something is prepared, if somebody has signed off on something, is there going to be documentation? There is something about, again, communication, documentation, signatures, contracts, the transactions that can be getting asked about first thing Monday morning. Did you get my email? Did you get the picture? Did you get my receipt? Did we get this done? Sending something off to the press. Think of it that way, sending out posters, sending out communication, sending out emails, sending something out that needs to go out in this early morning time frame. Now, the Venus and Mars stuff can, again, the human effect is it can be a part of that early morning time frame. Venus and Mars are highlighting a big part of this week. Venus is in Mars's sign. Mars is about to be hosting Saturn. So there's something about this energy that feels like we're pushing something forward all week. And there's little bits of details to make something move forward as we go through the week. And this moon square Mercury is that push dynamic. It's the questioning, it's the ordering, it's the signatures, it's something about communication. There can be direction, but not necessarily for direction for everybody. There can just be questions, that level of communication, that type of dynamic. Now, this sets the stage for the entire day. The overnight early morning transit sets the stage for the entire day of what we're going to be dealing with. It's not that the moon is void. It's just that there's nothing else directly going on. So that's why I feel like there's a whole process to this entire week and the dynamics of everything, literally until we get to the evening time. Now, what we talk about next is going to be encompassing two transits simultaneously. The first one is between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The other one starts between 10 p.m. and midnight. So some of what I describe right here, it's going to be a part of late Monday. For some people, that lingering human effect is it's going to actually be a part of the overnight hours of like late Monday night, Tuesday morning type of frame. Anyways, we've got two things going on here. The moon is going to make a sextile to Chiron. The moon is going to make a trine to Jupiter. Over the weekend, we actually had an actual sextile between Chiron and Jupiter. It was their third and final one about a fix, a solution of some sort impacting our money, Jupiter, impacting the doctor, the guru, the teacher, feeling like something has finally hit a level of getting fixed, feeling like we've got a solution of some sort. And the moon coming back into this and kind of reactivating some of the solution vibration can also have to do with, again, some of that vibration towards long-term decisions and new long-term responsibility. Why am I saying that? This moon, Chiron, moon, Jupiter is one thing that's going on, but there's a buildup of another thing that actually goes exact on Tuesday. So I want to go ahead and just bump this into Tuesday to keep talking about what I'm going into. So now we're into the 20th. And that is between 2 and 4 a.m. I got this at 1:30 because I want the moon to still kind of be in that trine stuff. Saturn is going to go through an exact sextile to the sun at 29 degrees. Now, this will not be the only hit with Saturn at this 29 degree mark. There's something that we are starting to transition through. There's something that needs to be decided upon, finalized. Please note I'm saying finalized. Finalizing the topics, finalizing the negotiation, finalizing some work over here so something else can begin, a part of this transition. But it's a known transition. We know we're working through something. We know we're about to start doing something more regularly. We know we're about to launch this. We know we're about to open the store. We know we're about to do something on a regular basis in some way. And in some parts of us, as we go through Tuesday, it's like this mental effect of like, I'm wrapping one thing up so something else can begin. But we're also going to feel the lag of like, okay, is this done? Is this done? Okay, this is all done. What do we do next? We wait. And there's something about Tuesday and Wednesday that feels like a series of that over and over again. Okay, I did this, I did this, I did this. Everything's ready to go. What now? We wait. We wait for the arrival. We wait for the weekend. We wait for them to show up. We wait to get the approval. We're waiting. And you're going to see waves of that, especially through Tuesday and Wednesday. Some people might feel it on Monday. I feel like more people will be feeling this on Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, whenever we get into this overnight hour, the first thing that's going to be happening is after the moon goes through that trine with Jupiter, the sextile to Chiron, it is going to go through a square with Uranus. Now, I never mind the moon square Uranus whenever the moon is in Aquarius. We've been dealing with this for a while, and it's the moon in Uranus's sign making a square to Uranus. So we just had a Sun Uranus conjunction again over the weekend. That most shocking day or most exciting vibration, depending on how the weekend went. For some people, there was very, very unexpected things that came to light that got revealed. For other people, there was very exciting things coming to light and getting revealed. It really kind of comes down to what was already being worked through and what was being pushed to the surface, especially after the full moon in Scorpio. The moon in this higher authority hitting the square to Uranus is it's asking for input. It's giving suggestions with familiarity involved. Now, again, this is happening between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. It is the overnight hours. Some of us might be having our minds very, very busy. Some of us, this human effect of something could be a part of Monday evening. For other people, again, it's going to be a part of the early parts of Tuesday, depending on how everything's progressing. There's something familiar, giving an idea of something that we've done in the past, how we've dealt with something before, what we could do differently now, what could be the new long-term solution. And given the other energy involved, because the sun sextile to Saturn is also going on right here, it goes the most exact between 4:22 and 4:46 a.m. So I'm going to bump this to 4:30. Yeah. 29 degrees, 37 minutes of Pisces. Here's Saturn. Here's 29 degrees, 37 minutes of Taurus. Here's the sun. There's still a vibration here of questioning about the familiarity, but also recognizing something either needs to be completed or something else is about to begin. And both can be true simultaneously. Now, why am I saying it that way? We can be getting something finished at the house so we can take the trip. We could be getting something finished at the office so we can open the doors. We can be doing the final prep work for this new space so we can start to get used. This is what I mean by transition. One thing has to end so the other thing can begin. And a lot of us are very aware that we are in this transition this week. And it keeps coming through all throughout the week. Okay. Now, Saturn, it is the authority figure. It is the boss. It is that role. It is that responsibility. At this 29-degree mark, something needs to get wrapped up and finalized so something else can start. And some people will have starts this week. Others will more have them next week. Again, what are we wrapping up? There could be some kind of final approval, final go ahead, final green light from an authority figure, from a boss, from an elder. Given Saturn's vibration here, as the morning progresses, while the Saturn and the sun are still in their sextile, we'll also have our quarter moon. Now, this is going to be more exact between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. It's closer to 7 when it's exact. I got it at 6:30 right now. Here's the moon, 29 degrees, 27 minutes. Here's the sun, 29:42. And both of these two, over the course of Tuesday, are going to transition into new signs. There is an arrival. There is a shift. There is a change. Them having their square at the 29-degree mark, the moon is in Saturn's sign, and Saturn is also part of this sextile between Saturn and the sun. Some of these decisions might carry weight. Some of these decisions might be the exact green light you need for something else to begin. It might not begin immediately. Again, there can be this lingering effect as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday of like, okay, I got everything done. What do we do now? We wait until it's time. Saturn, time, karma, time to start the new thing. We won't all be starting something on Tuesday, but that doesn't mean that we won't be able to get certain things completed so something else can be prepared. It's a very transitional week. Okay. Now, at 7:29 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm just bump this to 7:30, the moon is going to go into Pisces. Now, once the moon goes into Pisces, some of us are going to be feeling a lot of emotion, but this doesn't necessarily have to carry the weight of negative emotions. It can be the healing, it can be the faith, it can be the hopeful emotional energy of the moon now in Pisces. I'm feeling hopeful about what we're doing. I'm feeling hopeful about all these changes. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling sound. I'm feeling secure. And there can just be this flooding energy of like something new is starting, and there's something about our minds making these long-term decisions with the idea that there is going to be wealth, that there is going to be hope, that there are going to be lessons, that there's going to be support, that there's going to be security in some way as we continue to progress. The moon in Pisces can bring up a lot of emotions. It can also have that flooded, hazy effect of like, I know we're in something, but not everything is showing itself right now. And as some people go through the next few days of the moon in Pisces, it starts on the 20th, it will continue through the 21st and the 22nd. Some people will feel a little hazy and a little confused because, again, we're going to have that weird lingering effect of like, I've only can do so much, and then I got to wait. It's like being stuck at a traffic light nonstop the next few days, just to be clear. All right, let's get back into the transit. Let's get back into the charts. The moon's going to go into Pisces a couple hours later at 1:55 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm going to just bump this to 2:30. The sun is going to go into Gemini. There we go, right there. The sun arrives in Gemini. And again, the special for Gemini season will not go active until the 20th, just to be clear. So here is the arrival. Now we have two planets that just changed signs, two luminaries. The moon going into Pisces, the sun going into Gemini. Both of these are mutable signs. They're bridge signs. They're transitional signs. We are transitioning into something new. There is a transition going on. Now, we can transition into some new information right as we go through this day. We can also find ourselves wrapping some things up, again, like I said before, to get prepared for something new to happen, even if we don't know all the new that's about to come through. And after the sun goes into Gemini, there ain't nothing going on. There's nothing else going on to the 20th. It's going to be really interesting with the moon going through Gemini. I'm sorry, the moon going through Pisces, because it feels like a lot of people are just going to be kind of floating and curious, and maybe some fine little details kind of stuck in their head. As we get into the 21st, I'm going to keep saying the exact same thing. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot to do. So for some people, you are wrapping things up still. Other people are, again, you've got as far as you have gotten, and now you have to quote, wait for the approval, wait for the arrival, wait for the grand opening, wait for the debut, wait for the launch. There's a lot of waiting energy. And whenever it comes to Wednesday, there can still be activity, there can still be movement, but it doesn't feel like a lot of movement. It feels hollow. Hear me out. It's not necessarily hollow in the negative sense. It just feels like we're in shallow water. We're not trying to get anything grand going. And the only direct transit to Wednesday, the only one, is between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. And that is when the moon is going to go through a sextile to Mercury. Now, the sun just went into Gemini. The sun just went into Mercury sign. And some people will get that final notice, final communication, final plans as we get through Wednesdays. Like, oh, this is finally ready to go. Oh, we're finally able to start doing something. Oh, we're finally able to move into this. Oh, we're finally taking responsibility for this. Oh, this is finally going to happen. But again, it's late on Wednesday, so not a whole lot is going on. There's a very swimming, floating, clouded vibration to Tuesday and Wednesday. And that speaks volumes as the moon is going through Pisces. Now, after the moon sextile to Mercury, nothing else is going on. Not until we get into the 22nd. And on the 22nd, there's a lot more going on all throughout the day. The first thing that is going to happen is going to happen between 2:28 and 3:21 a.m. Central Standard Time. And this is when Venus will go through its full trine to Mars. Now, Venus is hosting Mercury, it's hosting Uranus, it hosted that Sun Uranus conjunction that happened before. It has been in a whole different energy, a whole different capacity over the course of the last week, because she's finally in new areas of the sky, and she's in that cardinal instigative sign, but she's also in Mars's sign. The go ahead, the approvals of certain things are allowing another action to solidify, to build, because Venus is being hosted by that Mars. It's getting the support, getting the approval that is necessary, feeling like someone has our back. Now, Venus is trying to Mars. We're in this all week. And this speaks to a lot of movement and momentum throughout the week, even though we're all dealing with the little finite mental details of other things. A lot of people will feel the transition of things as we go through Thursday. Some will still be kind of hazy and cloudy, be like, oh, we really are about to go live. Oh, we really are going to turn this on. Oh, we really are. Oh, and there will be some clicks of trying to let that finally register, but some people won't be able to register all of them all at once, especially not at 2:30 in the morning. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Pisces is going to hit a square to Jupiter. And it's just about exact right here. I got the moon 2553. Here's Jupiter 2552. The moon is in Jupiter's sign, giving direction, talking to the doctor, the guru, the teacher, asking questions, asking for assistance, giving guidance. Some of us are the ones giving guidance. Some of us are getting some level of understanding. We're in teachable moments. Are we all at teachable moments at 4:30 in the morning? No, this can also have to do with the day. I'm letting you know we will have these little teachable moments, these approval moments, these go-ahead moments as we progress. Now, when we get a little bit closer to the morning time, so I'm going to bump this now to 7:30. We're going to have two things going on simultaneously. And I feel like it is Thursday morning that kind of breaks us out of the fog, where certain things start to click in a little bit more, even if we are still a little hazy. One reason we are so hazy is after the sun went into Gemini, it started a sextile to Neptune, but it doesn't go exact until right here, literally between 7:30 a.m. and 7:55 a.m. Here's Neptune, 1 degree, 40 minutes. Here's the sun, 1 degree, 40 minutes. Now, some of us are going to feel a little clouded, a little under the weather, a little foggy, a little confused, still not clicking on all the details. But there will be kind of another energy that kind of snaps us out of part of that. And that has to do with the moon going through a sextile to Uranus. There can be some unexpected things. There can be some little exciting things that can be a part of that click out of the fog. We're going to have something coming through just a little bit unanticipated, a little bit unexpected, but it doesn't have to be bad. Some of us got that confirmation Wednesday night, and we got it, but we couldn't do anything with it. We had to do it the next morning. So it's like the email got sent, the final signatures were made, but then they don't go to the bank. They don't get completely filed. They don't go to HR. They don't do whatever they're going to do until the next morning. And this goes into that next morning. Now, the moon's sextile to Uranus does not have to be crazy. It can have to do with education, sure. But it can have to do with technology. It can have to do with electrical stuff. It can have to do with expect the unexpected, exciting certain things, given what we're going through. We're going to keep this going. Now, we're going to be in the sextile between the sun and Neptune all day long. As the day continues, though, the phase of fogginess, I feel like will start to really fade out, especially once the moon goes into Aries. It's just not going out immediately. But I feel like we do start to come out of the fog as the day progresses on Thursday, and that'll be helpful. Now, as we continue between 10 a.m. and noon, so I got this now at 11:30, the moon will go through a conjunction to Saturn. And at 11:26 a.m., it will actually go into Aries. So the conjunction to Saturn happens at such a late degree point of Pisces that, again, it sends a confirmation. But then whenever the moon goes into Aries, whatever the confirmation is between the moon and Saturn, because that does feel like a confirmation. It's like confirming the responsibility, confirming the role, confirming the action, confirming something with an authority figure, with an elder, from an elder, by an elder, by an authority figure. We're confirming something. And then the moon immediately goes into Aries, and it goes into that instigative side. It goes into that starting sign. And it feels like that transition of something new that allows for a green light. It allows for certain activity. It can also be the announcement that something has been finalized and it's going to come out next week or tomorrow or whenever. It feels like a confirmation of something that is about to transition, that is about to come through later in the week, because over the weekend, when Saturn goes into Aries, that is going to be the bigger part of confirmation. Now, the moon in Aries, it likes the activity, it likes the excitement, it wants to do new things. Mars is in the center of Leo. So, whatever we are starting to do has a long term vibration to it, but it also has support because this entire week we've been going through Venus's building sextile, not sextile, trine to Mars, the building trine. And by getting into that trine finally, it's like the approvals, the confirmation, and the support allows for the next wave of action and activity to start to take shape. And it just so happens that it's happening at the later end of the week. All right, let's get into those transits. The moon is now in Aries. Like I said, it had that late degree confirmation of something when it hit that conjunction to Saturn. It immediately goes into Aries. It immediately leads into something new, something finally happening, something finally being able to start, something either given the green light or given some type of verdict conversation from Saturn that something is about to begin. Okay, now between 1:30 and 4 p.m., I'm going to give a wider window on this. The moon is going to hit its conjunction to Neptune. You can see that right here. I got this at 2:30, and a sextile to the sun. Now, again, Neptune and the sun, they were in their exact sextile in the morning time. And I feel like a lot of people were waiting on something. Now, can we still be kind of cloudy and hazy about what's going on? Sure. But do we still feel like there can be the arrival of something that kind of pushes us out of the cloudy haziness? Yes. Are we starting everything all at this exact minute? No, not all of us. Again, some of us are going to be aware of the transition, but more things are going to start the week following. We're finalizing some certain things. We're getting new conversations started, but whatever new conversations are starting, again, the whole idea is that there's a long-term effect to them, that we're making a decision for the long term. For some people, the long term is going to be 6 months. For other people, that long term is going to be a longer cycle, 2 to 3 years, depending on your planetary time lords and all that. Okay. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of movement. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of relief. And that takes me to the next transit. Between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Pluto is going to hit the sextile to the moon. Plumbing's fixed. For those of us that have been dealing with the plumbing issues, for some people, there's a solution to the plumbing issue. We'll just say that. But for other people, it's like hidden fears or certain fears falling away. By having all of these other things come through, it has allowed for something else to fall away. Or there's a trigger of something here that's going to lead to a past situation also coming back up and being tied to the new beginning. Why do I say that? Because even though Pluto is going through a sextile to the moon, after the sun exits its sextile from Neptune, it's going to go through a trine with Pluto. And for some people, a past situation can also be leading into the new dynamic, the new responsibility, the new judgments of certain things that are going to come through as we progress into what's next. And for some people, we might not fully understand the old dynamic that is feeding into this. And not everybody is going to have like a long-term energy as a part of the old dynamic, but some part of this can also be a part of an old power struggle, an old issue, an old dynamic, an old secret coming back around, just as much as it can be about confirming a certain fear, certain frustration has been overcome. Both can be true simultaneously, depending on the situation. We're going to keep this going. We're going to keep it going. We're going to get into Friday. We're going to get into the 23rd. So here we are. Now, the moon is going to be in Aries all day long. A lot of people will have a lingering effect of the dynamic of the 22nd actually carrying into Friday. There's going to be a lot of action and a lot of activity when the moon is going through Aries. We want to do more things, and our energy tends to be a lot higher. We don't tend to be sitting still as much. Now, when we get into the afternoon, what's going to happen is between 2 and 5 p.m. I've got this now at 3:30 because it's like right in the middle. It's kind of that sweet spot of what's happening. One, between 2 and 4 p.m., the moon is going to hit the trine to Mars. Between 3 and 5 p.m., the moon will hit its full conjunction to Venus. So you can see that right here. Moon conjunct Venus, moon trine Mars. A lot of people have spent this entire week solidifying, getting a few things put into order, getting a few things filed, getting a few things put into action, making sure some documents have been received, requesting certain documents, putting certain things into motion. That is going to be a part of a transitional action. This moon hitting the trine to Mars and the conjunction to Venus can confirm certain actions are going to continue, that certain activities are going to progress from here, that certain things are again going to be solidified. And for some people, there can even be things about the old power dynamic, power issues, struggles, plumbing issues because of Pluto, are also kind of in part of the topics. Where for some people are leaving an old issue behind. Some people are waiting on the arrival of the new person, the new responsibility, and there could be confirmation on Friday, like the end of Friday going, starting next week, this is going to be happening. This is going to be going on. This will be our new dynamic. The human effect is for some people, we're getting final confirmation by the end of the week that something new will be arriving the next work week. For some people, it will literally be arriving over the course of the weekend. Now, whenever it comes to Friday, that moon, Venus, moon, Mars stuff, this is the only thing going on. This is the only transit. Now, the moon being in Aries, we want to be active. We want to be doing things. We are a lot more excitable. We are kind of like bouncing around a little bit. And going into a holiday weekend for us here in the States, that's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. And you're going to be like very hyper active in regards to like wanting to do certain things. And some people are going to start Memorial Weekend feeling a lot more active than the way we end it, just to be clear. And this is kind of going into that start. Now, as we get into the 24th, the moon's going to be in Aries for half of the day, and then the other half it's going to be in Taurus. Between 4 and 6 a.m., the moon is going to hit its conjunction to Chiron. So got this now 4:30. Here's the moon. 24 degrees, 56 minutes. Here's Chiron, 25:20. So we're right at the start of these two kind of coming together. It goes more exact around that 5 to 5:30 marker. So you can kind of see this here. There's something that is being talked about, the wound. For some people, there has been new wounds over the last few weeks. Other people, there has been a fix, a solution, a confirmation of the solution. Some of us on late Friday night, some of us early on Saturday, we're going to be talking to people about the solutions that we have found and the benefits that have come from that. As we continue into the morning between 5:30 and 7:30, now I got this at 6:30, the moon, 26:11, is going to go through a sextile to Jupiter, 26:19. Whatever has been fixed, whatever solutions we have found, whatever wounds we have overcome, we have also found a benefit. Moon sextile Jupiter, a financial benefit, a guidance benefit, having someone supportive, feeling like we finally got someone in our quarter, given the Jupiter vibration. But for other people, it's like the doctor, the guru, the teacher. Again, feeling like you have the right person in your quarter. We got the right doctor to work on everything. We have the right doctor helping us focus on whatever we need to in the body, whatever treatments need to be done. There is a focus in this vibration. But we're reactivating a sextile, not something super heavy, not something super crazy. And there is just kind of a lot going on as we continue throughout the day. And I want people to also understand that as the day continues, there can also be some shock waves of certain things that are going to be happening. So unexpected things kind of coming through, or exciting things, just to be clear. Now, in the morning time between 10:40 and 11:05, so I'm going to bump this to 10:30, this is where the sun is going to go through that trine with Pluto. Now, for some people, whenever you start to tell your best friend, you guys haven't hung out in a while, but we're spending the weekend together, we're doing something fun, we're trying to, get some energy worked out, we're going to be telling some people some things they didn't know you were even struggling with, that they didn't even know had been an issue. And that can be the shock factor. And when the sun hits the trine to Pluto, there can be something about the old power struggle, that old power dynamic, that old plumbing issue. Pluto can have to do with plumbing. That old aspect being seen in a different light. Some of you are going to be going out and traveling, and you're going to be visiting somewhere that kind of re-encounters death. It is Memorial Weekend, so that can play a lot into this Pluto part of the transit. But there can also be an understanding of something that has gone on in the past now influencing the present. And that influence can again have a shock to it. Why do I keep saying that? Because Mercury and Uranus are going to hit their conjunction today. It's not going to go exact until the evening time, but the sun is in Mercury sign. So some of what can be going on here can actually feed back to the prior weekend, May 17th, when we have the sun Uranus conjunction. For other people, though, this can just be another wave of something that we were not familiar with, and there can be, again, shock waves to it. Now, Pluto is going to hit the trine to the sun between 10:40 and 11:05 a.m. After that, right now we're going through a void moon, so I don't feel like there's a lot of activity per se. I feel like there's just a lot of movement until we get into the afternoon at 12:39 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 1:30. The moon is going to go into Taurus. The moon is going to go into Venus's sign. And again, Venus is in her detriment. Venus is in Mars's sign. So now we're falling back into that dynamic of Venus and all that she's trying to push forward, all that is trying to take shape, all the activity that we're trying to move through. And whenever the moon goes into Taurus, it would normally feel very, I don't want to say positive, making it sound negative. I'm not saying that, but it usually goes into like a stability energy where we just want to kind of relax and chill. But I don't feel like everybody is going to be able to relax. Instead, I feel like there's this amplification of excitement, agitation for some, determination for others, that starts to solidify once the moon goes into Taurus. And it allows us again to understand a long-term change that is setting in. And some people will be feeling very relieved that this is happening, especially if you put a lot of work into something. Others are going to feel, again, that level of stability, but it's like amplified stability. So there's still a lot of movement and activity, even though we're feeling the stability of the moon in Taurus. There's a comfort, but it can also make us a little bit more indulgent because it feels like so many things are going our way. Why wouldn't we want to celebrate? Okay. Going back to the transits, getting back into the charts. The moon is now in Taurus. Okay. Now, there's not a whole lot immediately going on with the moon going into Taurus. Again, we're just kind of feeding off of the condition of Venus and everything that she's going through. As the afternoon progresses, we get into the evening time. Between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., Pluto is going to hit a square to the moon, but we still have Pluto in the trine to the sun. And this can feel a little bit hairy for some people. This can be a little bit triggering, especially because right after this is when Saturn is going to move into Aries. Over the course of the evening, Saturn will go into Aries. What we're dealing with at this exact moment, though, is this is when Mercury hits the exact conjunction to Uranus. Now, again, for some people, whatever occurred the weekend before, the 17th and the 18th, can be directly impacting this. It can be directly leading to whatever is getting revealed right here, whatever is being communicated, whatever is being confirmed, whatever prior power dynamic or power struggle can be feeding into this. And there can be a frustration, there can be a challenge, there can be an issue, there can be a frustration. Pluto being heavily activated in two ways here can have a triggering energy, and other people might not be expecting it. It can be like you say something in one moment, and because someone else has got something else on their mind, they start to project that other thing, and what they start to come off with and what starts to come out of their mouth just goes in a whole different direction. And we're like, whoa, I didn't mean it this way. I just asked how do you like your burger done? I didn't, what just happened? Be aware of that. There can be those little things that speak to triggers or frustrations that also trigger that arrival of the authority figures as the weekend continues. Okay. The Mercury Uranus conjunction is the most exact between 6:13 and 6:25 p.m. That's why we've got it here at 6:30. This is also whenever Pluto is going through that square with the moon. This can be very heavy. This can be very triggering. This can be very frustrating. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. At 10:36 p.m., so I'm going to bump this now to 11:30. That is whenever Saturn goes into Aries. This is the arrival of something new, but not all of us are going to deal with the arrival at the same time. Some of us will have to do with some additional level of responsibility coming through. Some of us will be still in the timeline of celebrating it. Again, we've ended some level of power struggles. Some people are going to get very, very triggered by learning about something new. Some of us will not be dealing with this at all until Sunday or even the week after, more so like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So there's that. Okay. Saturn moves into Aries. Now, Saturn is not set to do well in the sign of Aries. He's actually said to be in his fall in Aries. So some of the people that will take certain responsibilities and do certain things, it might be getting perceived by others as impulsive, and they might question whether somebody's doing the right thing or not. They could be. They couldn't be. That's not yours to judge. Just be aware. The transition is real. Okay. We're getting into the 25th. The moon's going to be in Taurus all day long. And we're not really going to deal with anything per se until the afternoon, which tells me that for those, especially that are celebrating like the holiday weekend, some people, you're going to want to sleep in on Sunday. You're going to have so much energy that you pour out on Friday and Saturday. You're going to be like Sunday morning, waking up at noon. Like, I don't know. I don't want to do this. I'm not getting up. I don't want to be active. I don't want to do certain things. Some people will be getting up to like get a few things prepared, get a few things adjusted, because we have awareness again of an arrival. And there's another element that speaks to arrival as we go through the day on Sunday. And that will happen more in the evening time. So I just want to keep that clear. Some people will learn about something very, very unexpectedly on Saturday that leads to an immediate arrival on Sunday. And that can kind of come through in the transits. Now, the first thing that's actually going to happen is between 4 and 6 p.m. And that is whenever we go through the moon going through a square with Mars. So I've got it now at 4:30. Here's the moon, 1728. Here's Mars at 1750. This goes more exact right around 5 p.m. But we have the moon going through a square to Mars, pushing an idea, pushing a communication, pushing for an action. Some people might not like the push. Other people can be very, very stubborn in this energy. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that the action isn't necessary. Now, considering the moon is squaring that Mars, and Mars now is hosting Saturn, that change has literally happened over the last 24 hours. This question can also have to do with the new responsibility. It could have to do with the new authority figure. It could have to do with a new challenge that was not anticipated a few days ago or was not accounted for a few days before. At 8 p.m., Mercury is going to enter Gemini. And as soon as Mercury goes into Gemini, it is going to start a sextile from Saturn. And this actually goes exact between 8:44 and 8:55 p.m. The sun changed signs earlier this week. Saturn changed signs 24 hours before. Mercury has now changed signs. There are multiple things throughout the entire week that speak to an arrival. Now, Saturn is in the instigative Aries starting up sign. Mercury is now entering its own sign. So it's like, I'm home. There's a lot of people that whatever is starting feels solid. It feels helpful. It feels hopeful. It feels like right place, right time type of vibration. And some of us are going to be like dealing with like the later part of Sunday going into Monday, feeling like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and immediately having input or feedback from an authority figure, from an elder, some type of guidance in some way, letting you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're going to feel that level of alignment. Mercury rules our logical brain, the forms of communication, the way that we logically process things, the ways that we work through things in our mind and communicate them. And over the course of the weekend, going into next week, there will be announcements, there will be new things communicated, there will be new actions, new responsibilities, new roles that again will have a series of events that speaks to the announcements of an arrival, of a debut, certain things being communicated. Some people are going to have this week of putting certain things in order for a new attorney or a new contractor or a new employee. Like I've said before, some people are going to be making the final adjustments for that new boss. But I feel like that new really is going to be more that last week of May and solidified as we go into June, what their energy brings. All of this month, all of May has been a process of sliding new things into place, getting familiar, but not necessarily immediately taking action with or working with. There's going to be something else that needs to get wrapped up before that arrival fully takes shape. Now, the human effect is not all of us are going to be dealing with that level of communication and news Sunday night. Some of us might actually see something on the news. Maybe it's our local news or something like that. Others might actually be getting a phone call from an authority figure Sunday night about something that has occurred over the weekend. I hope not, but there's a possibility of it. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, but there is something that speaks to the arrival of something new. By the end of the week, most exact Saturday, Sunday, because that's when Mercury and the Sun are going to be changing signs. Not Mercury and the Sun, Mercury and Saturn. The Sun is earlier in the week, but all throughout the week, it feels like a transition of finalizing certain things for a long-term shift, a long-term new beginning. We had to solidify the power dynamics, the new power players throughout the month of May for them to finally step into position, step into certain roles. This week feels like the announcements of those players, the key terms of them going into certain places, for us doing new things. And it really kind of comes down to what Saturn in Aries is going to represent for you, because that is the pinky toe dip. This is the start of what the next 3 years will feel like. The reason I say the start, because he will only be here for a couple of months. He will retrograde back into Pisces. And whatever we are starting to deal with in this last part of May, going into June, we will also be dealing with at a whole other level come February of next year. So when I'm saying that there's a transitional vibration of something that will have a long-term dynamic and a long-term impact, I'm really serious about that. But there's going to be a lot of work in the process to make something happen. So it's not one meeting, one accountant, one check, one situation. It's a series of things that will lead to the full dynamic of how everything's going to pan out later. Be very aware of what's transitioning into place this week, what will be starting this week and next week, what we're really putting into measure as we go into June, because we're at the first wave of something that will be amplified as we go into 2026. So a lot of people are at very intricate turning points in their situations, in their vibrations, in their partnerships, in their relationships, in their family dynamics, very specific things that are starting to take shape that are going to be a bigger part of the new normal than what we're just dealing with in the moment. And the waves of how everything will progress from here is going to be magnanimous in regards to that long-term effect. But there are waves to everything. There is emotion to everything. And there is a long-term action, reaction, and dynamic that will really start to solidify after we fully start to feel what Saturn and Aries is going to be. And the thing is, there's so much of it that we will not see clearly for a very long time because of Neptune and everything that he's doing too. But that's a different conversation that we'll have here pretty soon. So I hope this helps. I hope everybody's ready for this week. I hope everybody is in the mental alignment of all of the dynamics that is starting to transition, all of the filing, all of the documentation, all of the ups, the downs, the sides, all of the announcements, and what thus are leading to in the long-term dynamic. Not everybody has been ready for this. Not everybody has still tuned in to what shift and change has been necessary or that has been occurring around you, because you're not necessarily great at connecting the dots. That's okay. But dots are starting to get connected to the point that we see a shape. What animal is starting to come through for you? What's the picture in the dots? Because we're connecting a lot of dots as we go through this week and allowing for certain things to take shape. And the bigger shape will be seen and recognized in June. But we're at the point right now where we're starting to see the picture, where we haven't been able to see it, the full elements of the picture before now. So I hope that helps. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Again, the BOGO option will be available on the 20th. That'll be how we're celebrating Gemini season. You will want to book those ASAP because, again, I will only have so much availability in the month of June. Most people are going to be doing further out than that, but I want everyone to take advantage of that while you can. So I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.